Yes, there he is. All right. The first glimpse of Russian President Vladimir Putin in New Delhi is on our screens now. The Russian president has disembarked from the aircraft. Russian President Vladimir Putin has arrived in New Delhi. The visit has formally now commenced of the Russian Premier to India. And there you see Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcome him with a handshake and a warm embrace. So a personal welcome by the head of state of India being accorded to the visiting dignitary, the head of state of Russia. A personal welcome by the Prime Minister himself, reserved for very few select dignitaries, very few select relationships. And as you can see, all smiles there. Of course, the two leaders as Prime Minister Modi welcomes President Putin to New Delhi. There you can see, of course, representative of the armed forces, also the Minister of State, External Affairs, MEA, the Russian ambassador, many other senior officials of the Ministry of External Affairs, and of course Russia, armed forces and diplomats present in New Delhi. They are of course all greeting President Putin as well as he arrives at the Palam Airport. And also of course a cultural welcome now. Could we try and get the audio up if we can? Okay, so a cultural welcome as well now for President Putin. A cultural ceremonial welcome being given to him. Of course, a guard of honor was already accorded to him. The red carpet laid out for the Russian president as he lands in India. Traditional dance, of course, there, a cultural display. All right, so there you have it. The Prime Minister has broken protocol, has done a special gesture accorded to very select dignitaries and visiting heads of state, welcoming President Putin himself at the tarmac of the Delhi airport. Russian President Vladimir Putin being accorded, of course, a red carpet welcome into India, a cultural showcase, a guard of honor, and of course a warm embrace from Prime Minister Modi have been the defining moments from the Delhi airport itself as this much awaited visit by the Russian president begins. Just talk us through the body language that we saw on our screen, Shruti. And now we can see another confirmation of the other news break that we had put out a short while back. The two have gone now into a vehicle together. So the same vehicle will be, of course, used by Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. The two will not travel in separate cars, but will go in one vehicle from the Delhi airport to 7 LKM, the Prime Minister's residence, where, of course, there will be a formal welcome dinner. So all smiles as the two leaders remind us of what we saw in China. This shows us the bonhomie on display. The two sharing a ride to the Prime Minister's official residence. Look at that visual coming in. Prime Minister Modi of India and President Putin of Russia. President Putin has of course arrived, was given a very warm welcome by India. And now we can see, of course, the two leave from the Delhi airport for the PM's residence of 7 LKM in the same vehicle. It's about a 20-minute ride, and in this ride, of course, we can expect a host of things to be discussed, but really the tone and tenor will be set for what we hope will be a very productive visit by the Russian president to India. Shruti Dasgupta, as we see these visuals, interpret this for us. A gesture accorded to very few visiting heads of state by Prime Minister Modi, welcoming the Russian president on the tarmac itself, a cultural display, a guard of honor, and now the two sharing the same vehicle to 7 LKM, the Prime Minister of India's residence.
Such wonderful gestures are sure going to cause heartburns across the globe, because we'll have definitely Zelensky tuning in, we'll have Trump tuning in, the EU nations will be tuning in, and such gestures are going to be marked that it shows that India puts a lot of belief in their relationships with Russia. And Putin is very, very welcome. So something like this is definitely going to burn hearts. It shows an unsaid solidarity with Russia and its cause. Yes, we have said that this is not the era of war. On repeated occasions, we've asked Russia to kind of measure out its military responses, ensure that there is no humanitarian crime done in its name. We've done all of that in terms of Ukraine war, but we have stood with it. We have maintained our partnership, and in return, we've gotten a decent partnership right back. During our Pahalgam attack, there were calls, there were meetings, there were assurances of spares and anything else that India would need. So these gestures are definitely going to cause heartburn. There are going to be people who are going to be watching every single inch of the land that they would be walking together, each single smile that they would be sending, very much like the SCO summit that happened in Tianjin. So this is a very, very noted gesture. It seems as if it is impromptu, but it is not. It is very much focused on how we want to project the diplomacy that is going to be part of this current visit.
Yes, we are, of course, continuing to show these visuals to our viewers. Major General Sudhakarji, defense expert. Let me also quickly rope you in here. Major General Sudhakarji, a very warm, ceremonial, and, of course, special start for the Russian president's visit to India. The Prime Minister of India breaking protocol, receiving the visiting head of state, the Russian president himself at the tarmac, the two sharing a ride together to the 7 LKM, the bonhomie on display with the warm embrace that we saw between the two leaders on the tarmac itself of the Delhi airport shows us, of course, what we're going to hopefully see in the next 24 hours as the Russian visit, of course, continues. But how important was this gesture accorded to Putin by Modi, Major General Sudhakarji? And what do you believe will be today evening looking like? The first discussions between the two in the car, and then, of course, the conversation continuing at the Prime Minister's residence of 7 LKM at the welcome dinner. Even as we see these live visuals coming in of the Prime Minister's convoy en route now from Palam Airport to 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. That is the Prime Minister's convoy that you can see on your screens. And, of course, in the middle is the car which the two leaders are sitting in. No two separate vehicles, but one car, one ride being shared by Prime Minister Modi and President Putin. It reminds us, of course, of what we saw in China. It reminds us of the gesture that Vladimir Putin accorded there to Prime Minister Modi, where he waited for him to finish his meetings, and then the two left from one venue to the other in the same vehicle. Major General Sudhakarji.
Yeah, Uday, thank you for getting me. In fact, much of the questions which you have alluded to have been answered in a very befitting manner, glorious terms by Shruti. I must compliment her. And but let me share with the audience or the viewers a couple of issues which are not getting covered in a multimedia platform. This visit of Putin is taking place in the backdrop of a highly sensitive, challenging security environment. If Netanyahu's visit was cancelled for third time to India, so as Putin's visit could have been cancelled. If he has landed safely here, kudos to our security architecture and the National Intelligence Agency who are operating round the clock. We need to compliment them, and we wish and pray that the visit would go off successfully. Number two, there is a strategic signaling taking place. I am mindful of the fact that this is the 23rd strategic partnership meeting taking place, and every alternate year the head of the government visits each other's state capital or the nation capital. And this is happening after 4 years, after 2021. Putin is coming to India in the backdrop of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. So when you talk about the peace proposal, a little while back I heard somebody saying that perhaps, or maybe in the Newsx world, that perhaps this is going to be discussed. Well, my take on the whole issue is, yes, anything can be discussed, but the peace proposal in today's environment has got very little giveaway, meaningful giveaway to take it to a logical ceasefire and end state, because it's a very complex, and to navigate a complex environment, it will take a lot of time and you require strategic and tactical patience. So while I'm not ruling out that there would be some meaningful discussions on that, but what is going to be discussed essentially will be the imbalance of power which has been created in the geopolitics today. There is a huge geopolitical churn in the backdrop of pandemic, Russia-Ukraine war, Hamas and Israel, Operation Sindoor. We all know what is happening in South China Sea, and things are hotting up towards Taiwan and between China and Japan. So under this backdrop, there is a greater necessity to identify an issue like balance of power. Little while back, our Honorable Defense Minister made this statement. What is the meaning of balance of power in South Asia? That is what is important, because today there is a strategic rivalry taking place of pushing back each other. China has made deep inroads into Pakistan, Bangladesh, Iran, Afghanistan, neighbor country, Myanmar, and host of Southeast Asia, East Asia, and US better late than never. They have suddenly woken up to the fact that they are still a superpower, maybe a declining power. It will do them good not to lose the supremacy and authority as long as possible. Despite all challenges, they have come back, maybe with a vengeance in whatever little milestone or leverage they will be able to gain, but they have come back to give a little pushback to China so that China doesn't have a field day in a glorious manner. That is the message which is going out from the South Asia, because what is happening in Bangladesh today is the conflict of sphere of influence of the radical Islam. Number two is the liberal democracy. Number three is the authoritarianism. They have not intersected. They have actually converged based on suiting their requirement, their national interest. At places you find them, they're converging to meet their requirement. At places they're diverging or conflicting or intersecting. So this is what India has to be mindful of. We should also keep in mind that the elections in Bangladesh may not take place by 5th of February or so, because if it is to take place, then the countdown begins from tomorrow. I don't think with the list of my joining the dots that I do, the activity which an election commission is supposed to do is going to do. Therefore, Putin and Narendra Modi have a long kind of a responsibility for the global order to stabilize. In order to do that, the primary center of gravity will be driven by the national interest of India, which will be nothing but trade, energy, and the security. When you talk about the trade, the imbalance in the trade that India has got today is going to be more than adequately met and addressed. Security, we are aware of the security factor. Russia is the only country which is very willingly, forthrightly offering the transfer of technology. This India should grab, and as far as Su-57, with my in-depth study, it suggests that for the interim period till 2023, till AMCA is developed by India, by Make in India concept, we must go in for the 5th generation. It is the cheapest model, it is the best model, regardless of other inputs which are coming. There are people who are going to weigh the pros and cons. S-400 balanced 2 batteries must come to India at the earliest. We must go in for joint development and joint development of S-500, and likewise indigenous production with the technology transfer from Russia taking place. And similarly for shipbuilding and other activities, we need to invite the Russian entrepreneurs to come and invest money in the Indian market, so that the imbalance also be addressed adequately.
Absolutely. Of course, all of this is very, very crucial and important. This is something that will be, of course, on the table tomorrow. But quickly drawing you in here at this point, once again, Ambassador Gupta, on, what this evening now is going to be looking like. So, of course, the formal deliberations, dialogues are going to be happening tomorrow. That key summit, of course, is in the morning. There's also, of course, a business, a conclave, a business summit in the evening tomorrow. But today evening, how important is it to set the tone and tenor for tomorrow? For, of course, the day of deliberations and formal and structured dialogue. How important are these, off-the-cuff conversations in the same vehicle as Prime Minister Modi and the Russian President are in currently, as they, arrive shortly at the 7 LKM, they're en route as we speak? How crucial is this welcome dinner, a private dinner, a dinner away from the cameras, a dinner away from the pomp and show that we'll see at Rashtrapati Bhavan tomorrow? How important, is this car ride and then the dinner that will follow in really setting the tone and tenor for the visit and the dialogue tomorrow?
This shows the very, very close and trusted relationship between the two. The Prime Minister Modi broke the protocol. He received President Putin at the airport. They are driving in the same vehicle, and it will be now followed by a dinner, private dinner, at the residence of the Prime Minister. And I'm sure that during the dinner, the tone of the entire, structure of the talk tomorrow will be set. That will be decided, because the talks will be held at Hyderabad House tomorrow after the breath-laying ceremony. And then in the afternoon, there would be business meeting. And in the evening, the president will host a banquet. But the basic structure of the entire, talk and understanding will be decided now during the dinner, and that is how it will be followed. And as Major General Sudhakar said, I think we have three important issues to settle. One is that we should continue on the defense technology transfer and defense acquisition from Russia, because Russia has been a very trusted partner. They do not, ditch us at the last moment, as it has happened in so many other cases. And they have also agreed to technology transfer and co-production in India. Second is, the energy security. It is not only the crude oil, but also nuclear energy, where we already have a very extensive cooperation. And Russia was the one country which did not put any sanction despite our nuclear explosions in 1998, while other countries actually sanctioned India at that time. And now the Russia has developed some new technology in the nuclear field. I think we should be willing to cooperate with them and expand our nuclear energy portfolio in our overall mix of energy. The third would be overall, trade issue. Our trade right now is about 68 billion US dollars, but mainly, it is because of the imports of crude oil from Russia, and which is also declining to some extent. But now it is time that we expand our trade in new areas which the China has, expanded with Russia. I think those are the areas where we have to compete with China and take some of those commercial exports to Russia, and then only our trade could balance. But balancing the trade is not a big issue, because we have larger trade deficit with China than with Russia, and therefore that is not a major issue in my view as of now.
Okay.
The fourth issue which I foresee is the international collaboration and cooperation. I think our relations with Russia lays down a foundation of very close ties within what we call the Asian continent, because Russia is a big Euro-Asian power and India is a big Asian power. And to balance China to some extent, we need good relations, because now Russia is over-dependent on China. I think with enhancing relations with Russia, we can reduce that dependence.
Hold that thought, Ambassador Gupta. I'll just come back to you. I want to go live across to 7 local Yanmarg, where our reporter is, of course, standing by. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin expected to arrive any moment now at the PM's residence in 7 local Yanmarg. What are you seeing there, Brian?
Uday, yes, clearly the PM has finally reached the 7 LKM. This is the exclusive visuals we are showing outside the F7 LKM. We've been following it up close and personal. Right just a while back, the Prime Minister himself went to the Palam Technical Airport to receive Vladimir Putin. They shared the same vehicle, they shared the same car. As you can see, the 7 LKM has been completely lit up ahead of the welcome, and now you can see also the route has also been given for the Prime Minister's entrance towards. And what we are showing you you, yes, clearly these are the visuals that we are trying to show you. The fact that, yes, both the Prime Minister and the President, they've reached the 7 LKM. These are visuals, and entire this route has been blocked because of the security purposes itself. This entire place has been completely beefed up because this place here becomes the most important. Right now, they will be going inside. They will be having an informal private dinner. Then they will be even having an informal conversation that will be leading up to 8:30 itself. So 1 hour, 1.5 hour of conversation and informal dinner. And what we are showing you, this is the convoy of the Prime Minister. You can see the lights are up. You can see that the fact that, yes, clearly it was a 15 to 20 minutes of drive. They've left the Palam Airport. The Guard of Honor was done. The Prime Minister reached the very Palam Airport to receive the President itself. And now what we are showing you from our television, from our screens, from our television screens, from our cameras, the fact that the Prime Minister has reached and the entire security has been completely beefed up itself is what we are showing you. And these are the gate. This is the gate that we are showing you of the 7 LKM. These are such exclusive visuals from Newsx, and you can see the gate ahead of the 7 LKM, which is the entrance that enters to the 7 LKM, where the two leaders, whether two national and international leaders, two world leaders will be meeting. They will be having a conversation itself. So clearly all eyes on our television screens, all eyes on the camera itself, that we are showing you these visuals from outside 7 LKM. These are from our camera, that you can see the gate of 7 LKM. And right now, as we are speaking, also the Prime Minister is here itself with the President Vladimir Putin. And now the route has also been completely beefed up. This entire place has been completely beefed up. He passed the ITC Moria itself, where Russian President Vladimir
And the two,
Putin
of course, were in one vehicle. The two were in one vehicle, Brian. The two were in one vehicle. They reached together. Just take us through what you saw and the kind of camaraderie as well on display between the two leaders. Also, what time is that dinner expected to begin now? About how long will the Russian president be at 7 LKM before he proceeds for his hotel where he's staying?
Well, yes, clearly, Uday, yes, clearly answering all your questions, starting from, yes, the camaraderie shared is very notable. And this is also brings a bit of a nostalgia, because in China itself, they also shared the same vehicle. Even now, while coming back from the Palam Airport, both the leaders were in the same vehicle. It talks about the camaraderie between the two leaders, shared moments, shared conversations in that very vehicle, a 15-20 minutes of conversation, a very personal rather conversation that happened between the two leaders. And now the two leaders will be reaching this very place, rather reach this very place itself. Clearly, Russian president will be also staying at ITC Moria. Again, they've been reached, they has rather reached this very place itself, and clearly they will be going. There will be an informal dinner that will be taking place at this very place that we are showing you. Then post that, there will be an informal conversation between the two leaders. There will be an array of topics that will be discussed clearly, but this is going to be a very intimate, a very closed conversation that will be spanning up to 8:30, 9 p.m. itself. So clearly all eyes on our television screens, all eyes on the camera, all eyes on 7 LKM, because today at this night itself, at this very evening, this juncture, this place becomes the utmost importance itself. It becomes the maximum number of importance, and right now the entire place has been completely barricaded, and clearly the visuals speak for itself. The entire place has been heavily lit. It has been heavily decorated ahead of Putin's visit.
Okay.
So again, that's a very personal touch also of the Prime Minister itself. He has